Well, good afternoon and welcome to the UUA's Board Trustees Candidate Forum for the Joseph Priestley District. I am Jim Hill. I'm a JPD Board Trustee and your moderator for today. We have several other board members here. We've got Russ Haynes over here from State College. He's going to be our timekeeper. We've got Flo Miller passing out cards, and Catherine Evans there she is, over there as another helper if we need. So, I first would like to thank the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of York for hosting this event. I would also like to thank all of you, including our candidates, for attending today's forum. This is the first of 4 forums to be held at various UU congregations in our district. It will provide our UU congregation members with a better understanding of the issues involved of being a trustee to the UUA board. This afternoon we have 3 very qualified candidates who are seeking a position to the UUA board representing our district. One of these 3 candidates will be chosen by the JPD congregational delegates at our district assembly in April. As a trustee to the UUA board, one of these 3 individuals will represent JPD and its congregational interests, as well as the interests of the UUA. This forum today will give each candidate an opportunity to share his or her understanding of the many issues facing the UUA board, as well as to share their desires and commitments to fulfill them. We will begin with a 3-minute opening statement from each of the candidates, followed by 2 questions chosen already by our committee to be answered by these candidates. Each candidate will be given 3 minutes to answer these pre-selected questions. After the first round of questions, each candidate will be given 1 minute to comment on the other candidate's answers. This is going to be a little involved, so just be patient. The order in which the candidates will speak has been determined already by choosing 3 pieces of paper marked 1, 2, and 3. And they're sitting in the order 1, 2, and 3 at this point. Then they rotate through that order for each question as we go along, so that everybody has an opportunity to be first, middle, and last. Each of the candidates will be timed. Each candidate will be given 20-second alert prior to the end of their allotted time. We ask each candidate to respect this time limit. Following the 2 required questions, we will open up the questions from the audience. Cards have been passed out to everyone, and if you choose, you may write down a question that we will then ask the candidates. The cards will be collected and reviewed by our 2 helpers, Flo and Catherine. And they will then pass these questions on to me, and time permitting, we will ask as many questions as we can. We ask that these questions be written and passed by the end of the second required question round, prior to obviously the open question part of the forum. You may submit your cards to one of our helpers at any time prior to this cutoff. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes to respond to these open questions. We will conclude the forum by giving each candidate 2 minutes to summarize their positions. This process should take about an hour and a half. At that time, we will conclude our forum, and each candidate will be available for questions in an informal setting for the remaining half hour. Please stay and enjoy the refreshments and the opportunity to talk with each of the candidates individually. Finally, in addition to these 3 other forums posted on JPD's website, we will hold an additional brief opportunity for the candidates to deliver final remarks and take questions at District Assembly in April, just prior to the votes by the delegates. I will start the forum by introducing each of the candidates. First, we have Elise Resnick from First Church of Wilmington, Delaware. Second, we have Natty Everett from the UU Church of Arlington, Virginia. And finally, we have Ken Schilling from the Goodlow Memorial UU Congregation in Bowie, Maryland. So we will start. first question, are we ready? Time?
Are the mics
Oh,
working? Are the mics working? Does
Getting
everybody
ahead
know
of
the
myself.
mics are
We
working?
will start with the opening statements.
Okay, is the mic working?
Yes.
Great. Good afternoon. As Jim said, I'm Elise Resnick. I am a member at First View in Wilmington, Delaware. I've been at Wilmington for about 25 years, and my husband and I have been Unitarian Universalists for over 30 years. I want to tell you a little bit about my background with this district. I started out as a congregational president, as many of you have been congregational presidents, and my two colleagues here are congregational presidents. I was the congregational president at Wilmington from 92 to 94, and after that I was asked to chair the Joseph Priestley District Growth and Extension Committee, and many of you may be aware of what the committee does. They are the committee that handles the Chalice Lighter program, which is one of the most successful programs in the UUA. The Growth and Extension Committee also was involved with starting congregations and working very closely with Bob Johnson, who was at the time the JPD growth consultant. So I chaired that committee for 6 years, and it was very rewarding, and got to know many of you from around the district. Right after that, I was asked to serve on the Joseph Priestley District Board, and went from an at-large member to secretary to district president for 4 years. That was very rewarding work. I got to work with congregational presidents throughout the district, but in my capacity as the district president, I also got to work with the district presidents from throughout the UUA. And we would meet once a year in Boston, and really got to learn about what the other districts, what they were facing, which were very different things than what the JPD was facing back then, a couple of years ago. We're a very successful district in many ways, and we're very rich in resources. Many of our other districts aren't. I also have had the opportunity to serve on several UUA task forces. One was Congregations Come First, CCF, which started some of the initial conversations around what you may now be hearing about regionalization. The other committee that I'm on at the UUA is the Southeast Regional Subcommittee on Candidacy. And next week I'll be meeting in Pendle Hill in Pennsylvania, the Quaker Retreat, interviewing ministerial candidates, students that are usually about halfway through their seminary. And that's been incredibly rewarding. So that's a little bit about some of the things that I've done in the district over the last 20 years. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
I'm Natty Averett. I have been a UU since my early teens and have lived in various parts of the country and had some exposure to different congregations, different districts, and feel very fortunate to be in this district at this time. To socially locate myself, I am 28. I identify as Black, Latina, also of a European and Indigenous American heritage, from a mixed citizenship or legal residency status family. I identify as genderqueer and pansexual, and am economically, my identification currently is middle class, from a background that transitioned from very poor, working class, middle class, you know, the American dream story. From urban areas, that's my primary experience. My experience with rural areas comes from having worked as a campus organizer for a year and been assigned to campuses that were about 3 hours from major cities in the Midwest area. So the range is wide there in experience across the country. Currently, I am chair of the board at Unitarian Universalist Church of Arlington, Virginia, one of the many UUCAs across the country. And I'm very proud of my congregation. We are transitioning ministry at the same time that we're evaluating and reforming our organizational structure, our operations across the program areas in our congregations, strengthening our governance model. We use policy governance because we are a congregation of about 900 members with a $1.5 million budget. We are trying to increase our impact in the community by having a capital campaign, which thus far has been more successful in its early stages than we thought we would be for the entire capital campaign. So I'm very excited about that. I'm especially excited that it has caused us to become more relational, and we have been able to keep older members very engaged, as well as bring in newer members, which really inspires me. And I've been able to take advantage of a lot of the resources of the district and the UUA in the process of leading the congregation through some of these actions and activities. In the past, I served on the JPD Young Adult Steering Committee. I was involved at the national level in some young adult network leadership activities. I was a leader in our young adult community at my congregation, worked with small group ministries, helped with strategic planning task force, and have done a lot of trainings, multicultural, multi-generational in the world. I've done some work with the Anti-Defamation League, with Black, Latino, queer, and multicultural organizations as a professional volunteer coordinator and organizer, working with different groups. I work with the HIV Prevention Community Planning Group in DC. I work in my day job with SAIC, doing some work there, and my aspirations for Unitarian Universalism are to make us the denomination that I really believe we can be, and I can speak more to that later.
Take care.
Hello, I'm Ken Schilling from Goodloe, Maryland. Goodloe Memorial in Bowie, Maryland. And I'm from a small congregation. What I represent is how small congregations can change their culture and be more inclusive of our generations, of our cultural diversity, and help change our denomination. I'm a transformational leader. When I've worked with teens, the teens have changed me. I try to impose my preconceived notions, and they say, no, we're you, and we're going to do it our way. When they do a worship, they do it in such a way that engages the entire congregation. Their story becomes their message, and their message inspires the people to say, I want to talk to these young people. This is where I come from with working with youth. And with religious education, where I come from, it's how do we be creative? How do we do things differently? Let's look at it in a different way, with a different means of expression. And when you do that, you can't help but transform yourself, because you're getting in touch with those very deep and personal things that you don't want to deal with. And we need to do more of that in our denomination. We spend too much time in our head, not enough time talking and relating to each other. So from those two traditions, it's how do we tell our story authentically and sincerely with each other, so we can go down in a personal depth, so that people who are not like us, and that we have many cultural, theological differences, can feel comfortable. And so in my small congregation, there was a time we were walking on eggshells, and I'll talk about this later. And because we were able to, in worship, share deep personal stories, we are now expressing ourselves more freely, more openly, in a sense of community. And so, for me, my theme is affirming your spiritual journey. Each person has their own journey, but at the same time, how do we transform our communities to be not just welcoming, but really, truly accepting and involving of others. So I'm on the Chesapeake Growth Committee, and one of the things that we're going to have in May is a hospitality conference so that congregations can learn techniques